Alright, guys, so things are heating up in the chip war, and we are now moving towards a direct confrontation, not just with China, that is baked into the cake, but with the entire world. Now, the future of the economic war or even trade war will be centered around semiconductors. Whoever can control this supply chain and production can flip the global economy decades down the line. But the US doesn't have control over this, not even close. Taiwan, especially TSMC, controls 62% of the global semiconductor market, and that's just one company. South Korea controls 11% of the chip market, and even China in 2024 has 8% of market share. The US is way behind at 7%, and that's why Trump is in a scramble to get chip companies. Now, just a week ago, China made a move against US AI chips. Beijing told their big giants, including Alibaba and Tencent, to avoid buying Nvidia chips. That's 15% of the entire company's revenue. That also means a chip market that will evolve into hundreds of billions being closed off from the US. And with less revenue means less R&D. And with less R&D means slowing down in the tech race. It gives China more room to eventually catch up with the US. And even Jensen Huang has had enough. He wants tensions with China to de-escalate for the survival of US tech.
There's a phrase, and I didn't hear about this phrase until just a few years ago, China hawks. And apparently that if you're a China hawk, you get to wear that label with pride. It's almost like a badge of honor. It's a badge of shame. There's no question it's a badge of shame. There's no question that although they want what's in the best interest of our country, and we all want what's in the best interest of our country, destroying that pipeline of the American dream is not patriotic.
It's not a surprise that the current administration is stuffed to the brim with China hawks, but this next move coming from the White House frames the US as a global hawk, a big global chip hawk that is out to shift factories all the way from Asia to the United States. The US now plans to impose a 1:1 chip production rule for all semiconductor companies in the world. In other words, if you produce one chip in Taiwan or Korea or anywhere else, your company must make one chip in the United States, and if you don't, your chip exports could face big punitive tariffs, up to 100%. And this is just pure madness. The scope or umbrella of this new ruling is so broad, almost everything can fall into it. Memory chips, logic chips, and even cutting edge chips, all this could be affected. However, it does highlight the level of desperation the US is facing in this global chip war. The plan is to move even more factories to US soil to control the supply chain, prevent China from catching up. However, will this work? The details are incredibly complicated. Its conditions piled on top of even further conditions. Firstly, new semiconductor production facilities in the US will get credit for the promised volumes. So if you say you'll make 1 million chips, you're going to get credit for that. You can import 1 million chips from your home country without tariffs during the construction phase. It's the carrot and the stick approach, but to be honest, it's not much of a carrot for all these chip makers. For the US, it's a big gamble. Trump wants the highest value chip making to relocate to the US. The cost of production in the US is so high that it's much more worth it to build AI chips and only AI chips with a really fat margin. Now, reportedly, Lutnick is framing this plan as a matter of national security. But is this even feasible? Companies like Apple and Dell, they have chip components sourced globally. It's a colossal task to pinpoint every single supplier, chip maker, and component manufacturer. Take Apple's iPhone 15 for example. The logic board itself contains chips and components from Bosch and SK Hynix, Korean and German companies. The memory board contains elements from NXP, which is a Dutch company. Even Qualcomm Snapdragon chips in the radio board are made and imported from TSMC. Lutnick will be on a treasure hunt to pinpoint and punish a whole bunch of chip companies around the world. It's not going to be easy for sure. Now the big ones like Samsung could be targeted, but so will the smaller ones as well. And if you don't build it in the United States, you might suffer 100% tariff. But who's really going to suffer? It's the US consumer. If all chip production moves to the US, It might sound like utopia for Trump, but the price of tech products, they're going to fly to the moon. Analysts are calling this delusional. Making an iPhone in the US, totally American made, is going to be either impossible or cause a bomb. Now imagine paying $3,500 for one phone. Just the cost of labor alone in the US could increase prices by 25%. Now you stack on the other tariffs like steel, copper, and aluminum. Those are at least 30 to 50%. How about the 100% chip tariff from this new ruling? It will spike prices even faster that will make our heads spin. Maybe phones made in the US might cost $5,000 after you factor everything in. How serious is the administration about this? The ruling isn't out yet. The White House calls it speculation, but the underlying desire is strong. Scott Bessent just revealed the underlying sentiment in the administration. They want to bring chip production home, and all their policies are veered towards that.
The single biggest point of failure for the U.S. economy and for the Western economies, 99% of high value chips are made on the island of Taiwan. So we're trying to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to the U.S. We're trying to bring steel production back to the U.S. We're bringing pharma back to the U.S. Who believe if we have not de-risked the U.S. economy and brought these industries back on shore, when we walk out the door in January 2029, we will have failed, and we are not going to fail.
Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds mighty serious to me. The chip war is about to escalate, and the US is about to make a big move. But let's talk about another crisis the administration is rushing towards. It's becoming a US tradition, and we are, of course, talking about the government shutdown. Now, this risk is coming as soon as October the 1st. If Washington doesn't reach a funding agreement, it will be disastrous for a ton of government employees, and this will impact the economy as well as the national debt. The last time this happened during Trump's term was in 2018, so there is a precedent set. A shutdown could absolutely happen in 2025 again. Now, the first term shutdown lasted for 34 days, and nearly a million federal employees were sidelined without pay. Now, sure, eventually they all received their back pay, but everyone is living from paycheck to paycheck nowadays. This is coming on the back of brutal tariffs on pharmaceuticals, so healthcare itself is going to get more expensive as the days goes by. And if the shutdown lasts for months, people will be required to work without pay or get furloughed. Not a good situation to be in. While Trump is busy golfing and he's cancelling all the meetings with the Dems, we have a spending bill that is floating in limbo. Now, the chances of a shutdown are very real and there will be consequences. According to JP Morgan, a shutdown will rattle global investors around the world. As if de-dollarization isn't getting worse, a shutdown could make things worse. Back in 2018, the S&P fell by 13% and bond yields fell by 13 basis points in the days preceding the shutdown. There was a pervasive fear back then, however, it's kind of worse now. Not only could investors abandon US stocks again, we could see bonds getting dumped as well. It's not really the loss of GDP, it's the confidence of the entire US economy itself. We are now stuck in a situation where the money has to keep flowing. Any budget or spending bills have to be rectified, or more confidence will be lost in the financial system. So, will this shutdown end? Yes, it's going to get resolved. And yes, a ton of people could get furloughed. However, the longer term consequences are just as bad. Nothing can stop this spending train. Now, in July, the deficit grew nearly 20% to around $300 billion. That's despite record tariff revenue, and it keeps getting worse. In August, the monthly deficit hit 345 billion, 15% wider than the August of last year. Once again, that's despite another blowout month of tariff revenue. The total budget gap for this fiscal year is nearly $2 trillion, and we still have 1 month left to account for. Only the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 exceeded that level of spending. This government shutdown isn't the main event, it's just a speed bump to the next fiscal explosion. And how can you stop this moving train? You simply can't. There's a looming threat of Trump planning massive firings if there's a government shutdown. Employees working for programs not required to continue, they are on the list. Now, in a memo, a huge amount of jobs could get permanently cut and going beyond the standard furloughs. So there is a big worry spreading across the country. Trump wants his spending bill to go through without any pushback. But I want to bring everyone back to reality here. This might not go through, the courts could fight back, or Trump could just do another Taco Tuesday. He'll just hire everyone back. He could just reverse it as well. Now, the worry is and has always been the deficit. Out of control spending is destroying the US economy from within, and that is truly the real crisis brewing in the United States. As the deficit continues to ramp up, this is money flowing into various parts of the economy. And as rates go down, we can expect big companies, the billionaire class, to start borrowing even more money to buy up assets. Now, take housing for example. You must now make well over six figures a year to afford the median US home. Prices have gone ballistic since 2019 and just can't seem to come down. It would take a 38% drop in home prices or 60% jump in household income to turn back the clock. The former will spark a recession and a financial collapse. The second option is becoming unachievable for most as well. The shutdown is just one big kabuki theater that will make things worse, not better. If people lose their income for months or really get their jobs cut, then we could see this unaffordability crisis get even worse. Now, there's zero upside to the shutdown. It's still the status quo towards a debt implosion or inequality is just going to get worse. Lutnick is gambling big that the US economy is going to boom in 2026, that the tariff shock is over and sunny days are coming. But his voice itself seems to be waffling really badly here.
Pretty darn amazing. So I am really proud of our president. I'm really proud of the way he's attacking this economy. And I think Americans through 2026 are going to feel how incredibly exciting our employment opportunities are, all these construction jobs coming fast and furiously, and the training program for America starts to get out there in its full glory. I think America's going to love what it feels like to have the President of the United States be Donald J. Trump.
But the issue is the insane amount of speculation. The shutdown already shows the level of division in Washington itself. Jobs are being threatened. Then you have insane tariffs that are slowly crushing US consumers. And all those trade deals with Korea, Japan, and Europe, they have not been confirmed. They're just a hope and a dream at this point. Circling back to the chip war, now you have the risk of $3,500 iPhones coming to a store near you. How the US economy will fly high in 2026 is really beyond me. Maybe Besson and Lutnick, they have an ace in a hole. But at least to me, I think they're bluffing. They're not holding a royal flush. It's probably just a pair of jokers. But let me know what you think. Will the US force chip giants to relocate? Will countries even listen? And how big of a deal is this shutdown? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe as we navigate through these crazy times.